Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking dates today. And the first news we'll be talking about today is coming from Russia and Ukraine. So we've got news today that Russia and Ukraine have exchanged 1,000 POWs. So Ukraine and Russia have exchanged a total of 1,000 prisoners of war as a part of a 1,000 for 1,000 POW deal agreed upon during the direct talks with Russia and Ukraine in the city of Istanbul. So, the first phase of the deal of the exchange occurred on May the 23rd, with both sides returning 390 individuals each, so that's 270 soldiers and 120 civilians at the Ukrainian and Belarusian border. The second phase of the deal took place on May the 24th, with 307 additional prisoners that were exchanged, bringing the total number of the first two stages returned individuals to 697, and then Russia and Ukraine conducted the final prisoner exchange in accordance with the deal made in Turkey, and that is 303 POWs from each country that were exchanged. So in total, the parties carried out an exchange according to the formula of 1,000 for 1,000 people in the last few days. This exchange marks the largest of its kind since the war in Ukraine begun in 2022, and is seen as a rare instance of cooperation between Russia and Ukraine amid ongoing hostilities. So this is a very historic event where Russia and Ukraine traded or exchanged 1,000 for 1,000 POW swap, and it's the biggest of its kind in this war. And furthermore, we've also gotten some breaking news today. If you usually watch the Non-Scene News channel, you probably know that I don't actually discuss about the actual war in Ukraine, but today is a bit different, because a large-scale air raid has been reported in Ukraine. So Russia has launched probably, I think, its biggest air attack on Ukraine, and has killed at least 12 people. So, Russian forces have launched a barrage of 367 drones and missiles at Ukrainian cities overnight, including the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, in the largest aerial attack of the war so far, killing at least 12 people and injuring dozens more, officials stated. So, Russia has launched the largest scale aerial attack since the start of the war, and apparently has caused quite a bit of civilian casualties. And leaders across the world are now condemning Russia's actions. So the US President Donald Trump's special envoy, Keith Kellogg, condemned the actions. He stated that this is Kyiv. The indiscriminate killing of women and children at night in their homes is a clear violation of the 1977 Geneva Peace Protocols designed to protect innocents. These attacks are shameful. Stop the killing. The ceasefire must happen right now. If you can see here in the bottom left corner. We've also got news that the US Republican Senator Lindsey Graham also condemned the actions. He stated that this latest outrage by Russia will not go unaddressed, and showed an image of the total aerial attacks that Russia has launched just yesterday. And even the US President Donald Trump has actually condemned the Russian attack on Ukraine. So the American President Donald Trump stated on Truth Social, he stated that I've always had a good relationship with Vladimir Putin of Russia, but something has happened to him. He has gone absolutely crazy. He is needlessly killing a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about soldiers. Missiles and drones are being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. I've always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it, and maybe that's proven to be right. But if he does, it will lead to the downfall of Russia. Likewise, President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine is doing his country no favors by talking the way he does. Everything out of his mouth causes problems. I don't like it, and it better stop. This is a war that would never have started if I was president. This is Zelensky's, Putin's, and Biden's war, not Trump's. I am only trying to help and put out this big, ugly fire. So Due to Russia's huge missile strike in Ukraine, it seems that Donald Trump and many leaders around the world have actually condemned Russia's largest aerial attack. Just as a peace deal in Ukraine seemed possible, Russia launched the hugest and largest aerial attack since the start of the war, and Donald Trump has actually now started talking about extra sanctions on Russia because of this huge scale missile attack that has happened. So very interesting news. And while this missile attack has been reported, we've also got some more reports of a possible Russian offensive in Ukraine. So military experts warn of an impending Russian offensive in Ukraine in June. So Russia aims to push beyond its current territories in Ukraine into Sumy, Kharkiv, and in other regions in an attempt to create new problems for negotiations, BBC reported. So the Russian army, so we've got news that Russia is amassing 50,000 troops near the city of Kharkiv, this region here. Sky News reports that elite Russian forces, including paratroopers, are gathering near the border, signaling a possible breakthrough attempt. So Russia, we've got reports according to Sky News and BBC that Russia is now concentrating around 50,000 troops in this direction for a possible breakthrough attempt to maybe the city of Kharkiv, just to try and probably create more of an upper hand in the peace negotiations in the war in Ukraine. So very interesting news. And the last news we've gotten from Ukraine today is that the Netherlands complete the transfer of F-16 fighter jets to the Ukrainian armed forces. So tomorrow, Ukraine will receive the last 24 F-16 aircraft from the Dutch. So some will be operational and others will be used for spare parts. So the Netherlands are now sending 24 F-16s to Ukraine. As I stated, some of them, maybe half or maybe more, are non-operational, and some are pretty much operational but very old. So very interesting news. And the last news we've gotten today coming from Russia is coming from the Baltic Sea. So we've got news today that Polish F-16s intercepted a Russian Su-24 reconnaissance aircraft performing, I quote, dangerous maneuvers over international waters in the Baltic Sea. So Polish fighters jets intercepted a Russian Su-24 aircraft conducting, I quote again, dangerous maneuvers over the international waters in the Black Sea. This news was reported by the Polish Defense Ministry, citing a press conference by the Defense Minister. So according to the Defense Minister of Poland, last night, NATO's Joint Operational Command in Europe ordered a Polish fighter jet to intercept a Russian Su-24, the minister stated. And according to the Polish Defense Minister, aerial provocations by Russia are occurring with increasing frequency. In this case, the aircraft perform hazardous maneuvers that suggested the pilot's actions were both deliberate and reckless. The incident took place entirely in international airspace over the Baltic Sea. So the Polish Defense Ministry are reporting that two Polish F-16s intercepted a Russian Su-24 reconnaissance jet over the Baltic Sea, and apparently Russia is becoming more frequent in its, I quote, dangerous maneuvers over international waters. And furthermore, the next news we've got on today is coming from Germany. So we've got news today that Germany assembles a new brigade in Lithuania near Russia's border. So according to the new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, he stated that anyone who challenges NATO must know that we are prepared. He said that after he announced a 45 armoured brigade in Lithuania near Russia's border in Kaliningrad in Lithuania. So Germany parked tanks near the border with Russia for the first time since 1945. As for the inauguration of the German armed brigade called Lithuania in the capital city of Lithuania, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and the Defense Minister of Germany stated that this was a direct response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The brigade will reach full combat readiness by 2027. There are currently about 400 German soldiers in Lithuania, but by the time of 2027, there will be 5,000 German troops as part of this new brigade that Germany has deployed on the Russian Kaliningrad border here in Lithuania. And furthermore, we've also got some more news today coming from Germany. That's the German government is to classify nuclear power as sustainable. The new German government is discussing to classify nuclear energy as sustainable while paving a way back to the use of said energy source. So if you remember, Germany went very, very green with wind turbines, very green energy. It seems that Germany is now going to be reverting back to nuclear power. And if you remember, I think a couple months ago, Germany did end up actually demolishing some nuclear power plant in Hamburg, but it seems that the German government is going to be reverting that, and it seems to be like that Germany might be reverting back to nuclear power. And furthermore, we've also got some news today coming from the European Union. So we've got news today that Donald Trump drops a tariff bomb on the EU, a straight 50% tariff starting on June the 1st, unless they build European products in the United States. So according to Donald Trump, the European Union was formed to take advantage of the United States economically. But later we had news that the head of the European Commission, von der Leyen, actually held a phone conversation with Donald Trump and later discussed about the 50% tariff deadline. The president of the European Commission, von der Leyen, called President Donald Trump seeking an extension of the 50% tariff deadline, and it was approved to July the 9th, 2025. So Donald Trump will be putting a 50% tariff on the European Union on July the 9th, 2025, unless things don't get better economically between the European Union and the United States. And the next news we've got today is coming from Rome, Italy, where we've got news that's the 5th round of nuclear talks begun a couple of days ago now between the United States and Iran, for the discussion of Iran obtaining nuclear weapons and the enrichment of uranium. So I'll just quickly go over the rundown of the 5th round of the US-Iran talks in Rome. So the talks were initially cancelled by both sides over disagreements regarding Iran's enrichment program of uranium. So with Iran, the mediator, both sides agreed to talk within the last 72 hours. The US envoy Steve Witkoff met Israel's strategic minister Dema and Mossad chief Bana 2 hours before the US-Iran talks. Witkoff actually later held a one-on-one meeting with the chief of Mossad, which overran by 40 minutes. Thus, he was delayed for the US-Iran talks, making Iran's foreign minister wait in Rome for Steve Witkoff to arrive. So the talks were scheduled for 3 hours long, according to Axios Barak, the news agency, but instead lasted 2 hours and 20 minutes as the US side arrived late. But 2 hours into the 2 hour and 20 minutes meeting, Steve Witkoff, the special envoy of Donald Trump, abruptly left the meeting for, I quote, a scheduled flight. Witkoff does not use commercial flights, so therefore does not have pre-scheduled flights. Talks continued between Iran and the leaderless US delegation for just 20 minutes before they ended too, not completing the required 3-hour format. But according to news, the 5th round of the Iran-US indirect talks ends with some but not conclusive progress. We hope, according to the Omani foreign minister, we hope the remaining issues in Iran-US indirect talks will be classified in the coming days. So it seems that the talks did go quite well, not much progress than the last one, but it seems the 5th round of negotiations was one of the most professional rounds, according to the Omani foreign minister. And we haven't gotten much else news regarding the meeting. It's still very, very classified. So that's all the news we've got on regarding the US and Iran nuclear talks in Rome. But according to Donald Trump, in the next couple of days, the US will be releasing some information, good or bad, to the US and Iranian talks. So, very interesting news. The next news we've got today is coming from Syria and Turkey. So, we've got news that the Syrian and Turkish presidents hold first meeting in Istanbul. The meeting comes as the US Treasury issued a general license easing some sanctions. So, the meeting between the Syrian president Ahmad al-Shara and the Turkish president Erdogan has concluded. Discussions focus on bilateral relations, international sanctions, and Israeli military action in Syria. The president of Turkey, Erdogan, stated that bright days lie ahead for Syria. Turkey will continue to support its neighbor Syria across all sectors. President Ashad al-Shara, the president of Syria, expressed gratitude to Turkey for its critical role in lifting of Western sanctions. And talking about sanctions, the US lifts most sanctions on Syria after Assad al-Bashar fell and the rise of a new transitional government. So, the US lifted sanctions on financial and energy restrictions suspended. The Caesar Act paused for 180 days, and the EU follows with parallel relief. So, Syria has experienced huge sanction reliefs by not just the United States but the European Union, and we're seeing a steady growth in the Syrian economic situation and the currency of Syria. So, very big news regarding that. And furthermore, the next news we want today is coming from Israel. So, we've got news that protesters flood the streets of the Israeli city here of Tel Aviv, demanding a hostage deal and the end to the war in Gaza. So thousands took to the streets of Tel Aviv, including families of hostages, demanding a prisoner exchange with Hamas and the end to the war, local media reported. And furthermore, the protesters accused Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, of actually prolonging the war in Gaza. And later, Israeli police begun arresting the demonstrators. And furthermore, we've also got some news today that's the Spanish Foreign Minister has just announced that Spain will no longer allow arms sales to Israel. So Spain will now be completely ceasing arms sales to Israel. And the Spanish Foreign Minister also announced that all members of the international community must recognize a Palestinian state. So, very interesting news. We've also got some news today that's the IDF, so the Israeli Defense Forces, have announced that Israel is now letting in 388 aid trucks into Gaza this week, but the UN estimates that Gaza needs 500 to 600 of humanitarian aid per day to avoid famine. So Israel is now increasing 388 aid trucks into Gaza a week now, but according to the UN, Gaza needs at least 500 to maybe 600 trucks per day to avoid a famine. So I'll keep you updated on that. And we've also got news that Donald Trump is expected to announce a ceasefire in Gaza within a few days as part of a deal that includes the release of Israeli hostages. So this is according to Sky News Arabia. So we haven't gotten any confirmation about this new Donald Trump ceasefire in Gaza, but again, I'll keep you updated on that. And furthermore, the next news we want today is coming from North Korea. So we've got news that Kim Jong-un, the leader or the supreme leader of North Korea, has inspected North Korea's latest M2020 tank model, the 2025 model, equipped with advanced protection systems and remote missiles. So North Korea has unveiled its latest M2020 tank, the 2025 model. So this is a rare close-up of North Korea's newest main battle tank. So we can see here in the bottom left corner the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un actually inspecting the new 2025 model of the M2020 tank. So obviously it shares a lot of similarities with Russian technology in main battle tanks. So I'll keep you updated if there's anything new about that. And furthermore, the last news we've gotten today is coming from the United States. So we've got news that preparations are underway for Trump's parade in June. So Donald Trump stated that I am proud to announce that we will be hosting a magnificent parade to honor the United States Army's 250th birthday on Saturday, June the 14th in Washington DC. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see lots of military equipment that are being loaded on trains and being transported to Washington DC to obviously take part in the 250th birthday of the United States Army. So very interesting news. And that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am non-seeing news. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I'll do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. If you want to support me personally, please consider donating in the link in the description below, or joining as a member of the YouTube channel. And if you want to get even more news, please consider joining the Telegram channel in the link in the description below. If you want to see news that I can't show on YouTube, or simply just can't fit in these YouTube videos. But again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.